Hey there, it's that time of the month. We're here at Five Market. We put out our Athens area real estate market update. We do a couple of those a month, one on the Athens area and then one on the national perspective. And if you follow us, we also do a football prediction contest. You're probably getting a lot of videos in the month of October and September because we're doing those weekly for the Georgia football games, giving out gift cards to local businesses. And then we also do our regular real estate updates. If you have any interest in Athens, Georgia real estate, staying informed on the market, be sure to click subscribe because really these videos are our way of giving you real estate news if you don't work in it. And obviously other realtors watch these videos. But one thing we're going to talk about is if you work in real estate, you've already felt this and you know it. Your mortgage broker, you know it. But the real estate market has definitely shifted. There's a change going on. What are those changes? So has the real estate market peaked? That's a question we're going to talk about. And then what happens next in the housing market as interest rates are predicted to go up? Nobody has a crystal ball, but that's what we're thinking they're going to do because of inflation. So let's get started. As you know, if you look at these videos or if you just found us on YouTube, we go back 3 years. We look at Clark County and Oconee County. We only use, as I'll circle here, the classic MLS, which is Athens Area MLS. Doesn't take into account a for sale owner. Doesn't take into account Georgia MLS, which is another, or First MLS over in Atlanta. Our market's very different. So let's take a look back at bring in the new numbers. And the big difference is how much less is going on. So we got less listings, we got less total home sales, and we still have home values up. Let's take a quick look at them. We're down almost 18% on total new listings. And we're year to date, our numbers for, days on market has not changed much, but it's about to. We'll cover that later. Average sold price, this now has moved about 420 between the two counties. That represents almost 16% up over last year. The good news is at one point, these jumps were in the 20s. So you see how that's rolling back 7-8%, that appreciation. It's still appreciation. It's just not as much as it was. The big news, though, that's really tough on realtors right now, we'll talk about that later, is the amount of transactions are down. 1,525 to over 2,000 and 1,838 the year before. That's a significant number, and that's kind of been a trend all year. Let's go look at the month of October only. This is where we compare the last 30 days. This is the November update, but we're going to look at what's happened in the last 30 days. Some bigger differences here. Total new listings, consistent trend, down about 25 to 30%. 116 new listings were what we saw. Good news for home buyers. Days on market for the month of October went up significantly. Went up almost 22%, 21%, from 30 to 38. That's a little bit back to 2020 and almost going, when we were pre-pandemic, we were looking at 60 days. So we're going to be heading there pretty soon. Significant thing has changed here. You want to look the month of October compared to the average home sale price in October a year ago, we're actually down almost 4%. That's very significant. I'm going to go over in another slide to explain to you what it means and kind of dive into the detail of it. Now, the other one here, this is a big one. We had another big number last month. The amount of home sales is down 43.1% for the month of October. Home sales are supposed to go down in the fall, but we're seeing even less than we've seen before, which is significant. Now, these graphs just kind of demonstrated a little bit. As you can see here, this is more of a visualization of what we just talked about. We're down 26% less on new listings and 26% less on solds year to date. New listings are down almost 18%. And there's going to be a part of this that talks about existing homes for sale because the inventory is changing. Now we come here, we look at the solds for just the month of October over the last 3 years. You see that arrow is pointing way down from this gray bar all the way down to 43% less. That is significant for the amount of real estate agents we have in the Athens area now, the amount of real estate companies, the amount of mortgage brokers. The reality is there is, how many times have I said it, less chicken at the barbecue. And that's going to be part of a narrative of how that's going to affect home values. Because even as rates climb, when there's less going on and less supply, might not see the significant change in value like we saw in other market shifts. Now, here's another graph we've shown you sometimes, and honestly, the red line just continues to amaze me. If we look at blue 2020, green 2021, and red being this past year, these are new listings by the month. Clark and Oconee County. As you can see, the blue and green lines married each other there for a while, pretty good. There was a big gap, obviously, at one point, but then they kind of came back together. Look at the red line of 2020. And in August, we were at an all-time low, and then we thought we were coming back right here. And then look at this. The month of October almost fell off a cliff. There are very few new listings in the month of October. It is a typical time. But what's also going on with the interest rates is it's changing sellers' opinion of what they should do. Should they wait it out? What's going on? There's just a lot of uncertainty economically that's kind of driving down activity. Now, this is another slide we introduced a little while back. Excuse me as I take a sip of water. trying to track the active homes for sale and when is really our inflection point in the market. So what's different here? We're not talking about just new listings. We're talking about homes for sale that are still on the market. We were below 120 on July 5th, shot up a lot over the month of August. This is also time of year where less things sell. Remember, interest rates started rising over the summer. September 5th, we were around 240, and we're kind of baselining. I think the number right there is 236 on November 1st. But what's going on is less homes are selling or getting absorbed less quickly. And then, so even though we're not getting the amount of new listings, the inventory is kind of still pretty low. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year, because when people do look to sell their house after the new year. And then monthly total sales, you can see, we've shown you this a lot, but the other thing is continue, went down again in October. I mean, if we look here, excuse me, I went one slide too much, that we've been below this red line for for a good long while, basically the whole year. With June kind of felt more normal, April felt a little normal, but we were nowhere like we were in 2021. And now the amount of transactions is just significantly low across Clark and Oconee County. Months of inventory. Now we almost got to 3 months. If you followed our update from last month, September was really close to having a 3 months inventory. Over the month of October, we did tick back up here. So that was a good thing. And if you remember, 6 months of inventory is actually a neutral market. We're still significantly below that. But there are some things that are going on that are starting to make some changes. And I do want to talk about that on this slide. This is probably the most important slide of this market update. It's a new one. And what it's comparing, just I want to show you, the red represents the year before in 2021, and the gray is 2022. If you look down here below, it says January. So we're comparing January of 2021 to January of 2022. This is the average home sale price in Clark and Oconee County. That means home sale price in January 2021 was just over 300. A year later, the average sale price that same month, it's just for that month, over 400. February, we were pretty similar because there weren't a lot of transactions. It didn't make a big impact. This is going back to February of 2022. But then March, April, look at how significantly more the gray bar is above the red bar, meaning that over a year, that was that much of a bigger jump in the average home sale price. This is when the market was at its frenzy and at its peak. What I mean by peak is peak activity, peak home buyers. I don't mean the peak value. That's a little different. But one thing I want to show you here, where's the market shift if you look at this graph? You see on the graph, it's right now, October. I ran those numbers yesterday, or basically essentially for November 1st. And this is the first month where October this year is technically a lower average home sale price than it was a year ago. Now, it is the longest time in several months. As a matter of fact, I had to exclude several of the months because of the size of the graph. I just couldn't make it all fit. But this is kind of showing a little inflection point. So what does that mean? What does that mean to the market? Does that mean the values are going down and you need to sell your house now or something like that? It doesn't. What it means is we're seeing, of the transactions we're seeing, they're at a lower price point. We saw a lot of times where the transactions, there were a lot of $1 million sales. We had a lot of people relocating here, more $1 million sales than we ever saw. We saw probably more over $700,000 sales than we ever saw. Those are starting to dry up a little bit. They're going on. There's just not nearly as many of them. And that's one of the things that we're seeing is just with affordability, the transactions that are happening are typically being below $500,000. And that's impacting a lot of things. So what does that mean going forward? Well, it means that the appreciation is probably just going to slow down. You know, we saw that we went to 15% over last year. I do think for most properties, you're still going to have appreciation. It's just going to be at a different clip. Also, you know, what your property value was probably in January, February, and March 2022 is probably what it is today. And on the end of the sketch, on the end of the video, I like to end talking about our company, giving you who to contact. We're 5 Market Realty, info at 5M Realty, Athens GA at 5M Realty. And if you don't mind, I would like to take a minute, one more sip of water, and brag on our group. Folks, if you work in real estate, mortgage broker, you know how hard it's been in 2022. It's been a turbulent year. It's not, it's because for home buyers, half the year it was very hard to get a house. Then with the interest rate climate changed things very quickly. There have been fewer transactions, and it's been a significant shift with the amount of real estate agents that work in Athens, in the area, and also people that try to come out from the Atlanta area. There have been a lot of real estate companies that are seeing significantly less things. What I'm proud of with our group is if you see this graph, again in October, there were 103 transactions and 5 market agents were involved in almost 11% of those transactions. I'm proud of these people because of how they're working to help their clients and helping each other, because the group people in this group, there's different levels of experience between some of these people, and it's great when you can reach out to another realtor and get help with your buyer, find a property off market that wasn't getting listed if you had to, because that's really what it's about. We want to be a resource for you. If you need help trying to buy a property next year, reach out now. If you need help trying to sell a property next year, reach out now. We can get a plan in place. Info at 5M Realty. You can also email Athens GA at 5M Realty. And other than that, be sure to click subscribe. Have a great rest of November. And it's Georgia Tennessee week, so I will end the video saying go Dogs. Hopefully they will beat the Volunteers. And this video will not be a bad part in history where we have a bad game in Athens. But have a great week. Go Dogs. And thank you for staying with us for almost